When I left India for the last time, I went to Bombay, and I had spent all my Indian currency, so I had nothing. And I don't want to take $100 traveler's check and turn it into Indian currency. So first of all, I would never get my $100 back, because rupees are worth a lot of money in India, but they're worthless once you get outside, or at least not worthless, but you're not going to get your money back. I'd probably gotten $80 back if I tried to convert it into any other kind of currency. So I just literally didn't have any money to speak of, because I spent all my cash. And I got taken to the airport and dropped off by a really nice guy, a rickshaw driver, a motorcycle rickshaw. And he drops me off, and I told him I don't have any more money. I don't have any money for food. And so he bought me some biryani, vegetable biryani, which is, just like vegetable fried rice type of thing. And it was right on the street, or near the airport, right outside. And it was real fresh. And he bought me this thing, and it cost the equivalent of 50 cents. And that was like my send-off from India. That's how they sent me off after my long trip. They actually bought me a meal. I mean, this is unheard of in India. I mean, a guy, an Indian spending money on an American, any foreigner, and be willing to do it and actually do it. But he was a great guy. We got along really well. And I mean, we just hit it off, how you do with some people. And he did that. And that was one of the kindest things I can ever remember, definitely in India. And one of the kindest things anybody did to me in my whole life, because it was just a little meal. I was really hungry. It wasn't like I didn't have any money, but I couldn't change any money into rupees, so I didn't want to do that. And he was nice enough to buy me this. And it's not just a nice gesture. It was one of the nicest things ever, because, obviously, that guy, I had so much more money than that guy. But he could see the predicament I was in, so he helped me out. So Indian people, personally, I love them. I think they're great people. I met lots of people that, they hate foreigners when I was in India. They just look at you. You can look at them, and they hate you. And you see a lot of people like that. But for the most part, I get along with Indians, especially the Indians in the South. This is up in Bombay. Okay, I call it Mumbai now. But this is in Bombay, so, they're not as friendly, and they're not as friendly in the big cities, obviously. But that was a really nice gesture, and it shows you what Indian people are really like. They're warm-hearted. They're great people. I love them to death, I think. And like I said, in particular in the South, they're the nicest people. Those are the dark-skinned people. And, people say they're scammers, and they call you on the phone and they scam you. That's true of any country. There's criminals there. There's I don't know how many, 1.2 billion people in India now, so there's plenty of criminals, but mostly good people, like you'd see anywhere. It's a really dangerous place. One thing about India, I learned when I was especially traveling around the world, I learned to always be overlooking my shoulder, and to this day I still do it. If I go into a bathroom, I know everybody in that bathroom, and I'm looking over my shoulder every second. No one's going to come up behind me, and I've just carried that habit with me my entire life. I'll never I just always suspicious. And then living in New York there 10 years, same thing. I mean, you're looking behind you all the time, because that's how people get clubbed, from behind. One thing they did in India, they would take itching powder and put it down your back. And then if they saw you with a backpack, so they would take the itching powder, which anybody ever heard of that in this country? Itching powder. When this gets on your skin, you go crazy. You're just the itchiest stuff you've ever had in your life, and so they would pour it down your back, and then you go crazy and take off your backpack. So one of the guys pushes you, and the other one grabs the backpack and starts running. And you're never going to see these guys, and they're gone out of that train station, because that's where it happens a lot. It'll happen on the street. It'll happen anywhere. So that's the kind of thing. You just got to constantly be looking behind your back. When I was in Italy, this is after when I was traveling. This is 1979, so I was in Rome, and somebody came up on a motorcycle, and they rode up really quick. And the guy tapped his watch, and I went to look, and he grabbed my cross and my chain. As a cross that Jeanette Muhlendyke had given me, my old girlfriend from Kibbutz Naram down in the south. and she gave me this beautiful cross, and it was ivory. And so they stole that, and they were gone in 1 second. So the writer on the back stole it and was gone. Now that's Italy, and they're all over the place. These guys, I mean, that's where I learned to start, you know, because I really hadn't traveled. I traveled in Israel. You got to be careful down there. Let me tell you, got into some very dicey situations down in Bethlehem with a friend I was traveling with. I didn't think we were going to make it out alive. That's the truth. And because this guy was really a bad guy, and I think he, you know, we kind of got rescued by these other Muslims, you know, who took us into their home, and we had to lie and say we were married, you know. That made a big deal out of that. No problem. We stayed stuck with our story because we were both scared, me and this girl. She was just a friend of mine. Robbie Allday was her name. She was from Australia, and we were best buddies, you know, kind of thing. At any rate, well. So you got to be careful anywhere you go, and thieves are everywhere, and they're all over. They're all over India. They're all over everywhere. You can't, you know. I mean, people lock their cars here in the States every day. It's 95 degrees out. You're getting your car, it's 127 degrees, you know. I mean, or higher. You know, I mean, why do you do that? Because they're thieves. They're everywhere. So at any rate, India is a great place, and they're full of nice people. But always, especially as a foreigner, you're a target, and you got a backpack. You're a target. And my son got all his luggage stolen on the train in Europe. The thieves are everywhere, and you know, just got to be always careful. And when you're traveling, you're a target. So wake up, look behind you, look behind your shoulders, look where you are, know your surroundings, see if there's anyone following you. You know, that's what you got to do as a traveler. Anyway, this is a pretty long video. I didn't expect to talk about all these things, but you know, it was a time I almost died from eating opium in India. Yeah, so there's that.